It's obvious that you listen to this show to hear about and support other people's dreams. But what about yours? What is your dream project? I'm here to help you break through whatever is in the way of your dreams and get you to the finish line. Go to dreamingbigcoaching.com today and take the first step. Literally, it's a button you can click to sign up for a free consultation with me. Let's find out if I can help you reach your goal. Click on Take the First Step. It's that simple to start the rest of your life. Get coached by Rob Southgate at dreamingbigcoaching.com. Look, we're all nerds here. Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is a great place to pick up nerdy paraphernalia and groovy wares. How about some sweet lava lamp dice? Or maybe a funky 70s Rec Room Nerd Circus dice box? Does that do anything for you? Need a drink? What about the book Mystic Libations? Critical Cocktails for the Thirsty Adventurer? Look, Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is the place for nerdy threads, cool tabletop gifts, and more. Go to thenerdcircus.com and check out the cool stuff. Oh yeah, and let them know the TTRPG Insider sent you. Welcome back to TTRPG Insider. I am your host, Rob Southgate. TTRPG Insider is a podcast about tabletop role-playing games and the people who create them. Every episode, I interview someone who's involved in the making of the games that we all love to play. I want to hear their stories about their lives as game makers and, I don't know, what they're doing in their real life, not just a description of the game. You can follow TTRPG Insider on Facebook by searching for TTRPG Insider. I also have a Twitter handle at TTRPG Insider. Shocking, right? I plan to add other social media, but for now, that's the best place. If you want to email me, you can send me an email directly to rob@ttrpginsider.com. This month, we're featuring Cthulhu Dreamt by Action Fiction. They have a Kickstarter campaign running currently through September 8th, 2023. Please support Cthulhu Dreamt, both financially and by sharing it across your social media. You never know who's going to fall in love with this game. So go to Kickstarter and search for Cthulhu Dreamt, or simply click on the link in our show notes today. Today's guest is Jenifer Walsh, one of the writers of Cthulhu Dreamt by Action Fiction. Here's Jenifer. Welcome back to the TTRPG Insider. We are still talking Cthulhu Dreamt, which is so exciting to me. They are having quite a month with their Kickstarter. So you at home don't know this. And I know I'm talking out of order, but I don't care. When we first interviewed everybody for this project, it was a couple of months ago. Anyone that's listened and paid attention has heard me talk about how it's kind of had a relaunch on the Kickstarter. And in that first group, all the episodes you've been listening to so far have come from that first grouping. Well, Cthulhu Dreamt kicked butt, hit its initial goal. We're just going for stretch goals like crazy now. It's just doing great. And they've expanded and brought in some new writers. So here we are. This is my first Cthulhu Dreamt interview in, 4 months? With a new writer on the project, which is so exciting. So I can't wait to get into this. My guest today is Jenifer Walsh, and you're going to love her. You better, because she's a friend of mine. And if you don't, well, I don't know where you live. Who cares, right? But I tell you what, I'll curse you, and you're going to roll a 1 the next time you play. So there you go. If you don't love Jenifer, you are cursed to roll a 1 in battle next time you're playing. So Jenifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And that's quite an intro. I appreciate it, Rob. Thank you.
I don't usually get to do it sitting in front of somebody. I'm usually over Zoom. So it's like the whole time I'm doing it, I'm looking at myself. I'm looking at my keyboard. I'm distracted. So most people don't get the big intro, but here it's just you and I on a couch.
I gotta love it. My favorite kind of thing.
I love it too. So Jenifer, let's start here. Now, you don't know this show really, which is fair. The whole idea, the whole premise of this show is to get to know the people behind the scenes. I've had people that run the Discord. I've had writers, world builders, artists, people working on the comic book version of it, whatever it is. So I want to hear about them. I mean, we can talk about the project a little bit, but really it's about you. So, Jenifer, why don't you tell people who you are and kind of what you do, and then we'll get into what you're doing on this project.
Okay. Well, so in this latest iteration of myself, I've been focused a lot on trauma work, actually. I am a trauma-informed somatic coach. I am currently in a professional program for compassionate inquiry and also doing a thing for foundations of internal family systems. So that's like a far stretch, it seems, right, for this kind of project. Why am I on here?
Well, no. It does if you're not thinking about it, but it's actually perfect. It's perfect. And go ahead.
Well, and so it's...
You didn't know it was perfect.
I didn't know.
Now you know it's perfect.
Yeah, now I know it's perfect. So, so the whole thing is, when you brought this up to me and then like shot me out there and Jaron read my work and loved it. I was thrilled to know. And I don't think he was lying because he said it on the writers group as well. So it was really lovely. And, I have to say, I've met Brad and Jaron over, Zoom and over Discord, and they're just the loveliest people. And
they're awesome. Yeah.
I understand the story I just learned about from a podcast actually about Reed and why he started it. And that was so close to my heart and just, moved me and was really like, I'm so sunk into this, and so the beauty of this is that, like this trauma thing, you really wouldn't think lends itself too well to this, but it turns in my case that it actually does. I've been able to look at the lens of some of these characters and just the way the story's unfolding, and now the metaphor of Cthulhu for grief, and that it just speaks a lot to me. But also for myself, I started out very young, like say age 8 to about 16 or 17, huge into creature features, Son of Svengoolie, Elvira, and then like Fangoria magazine. I wanted to work for Industrial Light and Magic.
Wait, I've known you for how long? I didn't know this.
We've known each other a ton of years. And this is not something I would have thought to even talk about, really.
So you were a monster head.
I was a huge monster head.
So was I. Did you ever get Starlog? Or were you really
Not
Fangoria?
so much. I mean, that's familiar to me. I recognize it, but that wasn't something I was particularly into. I was
way into Starlog, and then I had Fangoria, but I didn't subscribe to Fangoria.
Oh, see,
so it was one of those whenever we were at 7-Eleven.
Sure.
I'd be like, oh, can I get this?
Yes.
But Starlog I had a subscription to.
Okay. Yeah. So we were a little bit opposite there.
Yeah,
but yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But not in what we were watching.
No, not in what we were watching. Well, you grew up in the Chicagoland area. This is just like what you
Svengoolie was everything you waited for all week.
Exactly. Absolutely. And so, and of course, when I was, in my teens, I was huge into Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Peter Straub, all that stuff. So
sure.
My horror background is actually a really big piece of my life that I just never tapped into in this way.
You've never told me it. I'm a huge horror guy. I'm literally shocked here. This is awesome.
Yeah. So this was just like, again, at first it kind of didn't make sense to me. And then when I saw the project, I was like, oh, okay. Right. Yeah. So.
Well, and you can see with what you're doing now, great horror. A lot of times people talk about the politics of horror, how it's a reflection of politics and whatever society.
Sure.
But Cthulhu as grief, like when you start looking at it, there's a lot of psychology to
Tons.
it. And actually with gaming, we were just at an anime con, and Maeve, my wife, who you're friends with and the audience has heard about before, and I were watching Rick Hines, who runs Storytellers Forge, talk about gaming. And while he was talking about it, the stuff he was saying, he kept saying, does anyone know what this is? And Maeve would lean over and go, that's blah, 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 blah. And then she says to me later, she goes, it's all psychology. It's all child psychology.
Sure.
That gaming plays in that arena quite a bit. That's why you're important to this type of thing, because not only is it fun to have horror.
Oh, yeah.
But you understand it. It's not the manipulation of it. It's how we react to things, how we live in this world.
Yes.
How we deal with grief,
yes. Absolutely. And then, you look at the larger world and you say all the trauma that largely, it seems, the gamers themselves have had in their lives
Right,
and what that brings to the story and what that brings to the game. And, it's just, it may be like an external that becomes internal that then translates to the game. But, if you are in any way trauma informed or psychology informed, whatever you want to say, it's just glaringly obvious, right?
Yeah, right.
And I don't know, like these are the people I just tend to resonate with, right? Because all of that is so close for me,
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to ask a question that's outside of this.
Yeah.
Creature features. What was your favorite?
Oh man, I had so many. But you know what? It's so funny. Creature from the Black Lagoon always comes back to me. It's like, that's the foremost one I can just go to every time it's mentioned.
It's weird too, because that one, when I've watched it, it's kind of like, Shape of Water, where you watch it and it's like, it's a monster, but there's not a lot of terror involved in it.
Right.
But there's something about that movie. I remember as a kid. Remember they did it on Svengoolie. They showed it in 3D.
Yes,
you remember that?
Correct. I remember.
And I remember watching it and going, this isn't really scary or anything, but why is this the movie that I can't get out of my head?
That's the thing, right? And I still couldn't really identify what the quality is necessarily, but it definitely had hooked me and was really one of the ones that I just always went back to. So
yeah, and it's so simple.
It is. It's very simple.
Yeah, but it's fabulous. There was actually another side note. There is a pinball machine of Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Okay.
You got to find it sometime.
Oh, I'd have to.
So in the center, they're always themed, and they have sometimes they have things that light up in the middle.
Sure.
There is like a murky lake area that just looks like part of the machine until you open something up, and then it all of a sudden lights up, and it looks like the underwater scene in the movie. Like it's like all fuzzy and weird.
Oh.
And you look in there and you're like, I think I see it in there. It's so fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, okay. Your background since this is a game about, or a show about gaming and that, did you play games? Is this relatively new for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I had friends and cousins and people who played D&D often. I was more of the outdoor tomboy kid. Not that I didn't have interest in the games, but I did, even back then I had a little bit of, I'd say, ADHD, and I was more of just the outdoorsy.
Yeah.
And the things that drew me, obviously, for me, a big draw is video games. Okay. That's kind of where I landed. Not to say that I don't enjoy games, and Brad and Jaron were so gracious to let me join in a playthrough, and I just absolutely loved it. It was fabulous because
was that your first time really playing?
Yeah, it was.
Really?
Yeah, but it was great, and it just the amount of imagination that's in the scenario I played, I was just like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the people I played with, so it was great.
Yeah, I mean, people here are going to agree with me. I always say it's the most fantastic game ever. Doesn't mean it's D&D is the most fantastic. That's what people think of, but it's the role-playing game. It's the rolling the dice.
Yeah.
And there's so many iterations of it, and there's so many different ways to approach it, and the storytelling and all of it. Boy, when it's good, there's nothing better.
Right. And I feel that. And just the amount of creativity that goes into it, it's just, it's like nothing else, really.
Did you get your hat handed to you? Did you die?
I did die. It's Brad's fault that I died because he was my roller because I didn't have die.
Oh,
so
no!
I'm absolutely blaming Brad for that. But yeah, no, it was a great time. I mean, really, it was 3 hours and it flew. I mean, it just flew by.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you had that experience, and it's one of those things. My friend Chris that died. There's a touchstone. I mean, Chris and I have a lot of things that were touchstones, and that's why we were best friends.
Sure.
But one that I go back to a lot is he was a big gamer, and he got me to come and play, and we played a campaign. I think we went over a year playing the same campaign.
Wow.
Which, that's a long time.
It is.
And hard to get a group that does that.
Sure.
And I mean, there's a million stories from us playing, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It creates a memory within you, almost like it really happened to you.
Yeah, and
There's
that's
a bleed
the thing.
there. That's amazing.
That's the thing. And I think the connection, like you're saying, the connection between you and another person, and just, in the intimacy of, it's not a real world, but you're sinking yourself in with your most creative impulses, right?
Yeah.
Which isn't allowed to come out in other spaces necessarily, and it's a different way of thinking. So you get to know someone differently.
Yeah. Well, and when you talk about like what you do when you're dealing with trauma and that, I would imagine it could be very healing depending on the game you play and how you play it.
Sure.
I've seen people at LARPs that are afraid to say their fear or whatever, and they're under the guise of a character, they're able to say it safely.
Sure.
And at the end they go, oh my God, I didn't realize I was hiding that, or it was hurting me, or whatever.
Of course.
And I can imagine, aside from, rolling a 20 and going, I killed a gelatinous cube, which is fun, there's a lot in the world of trauma where if you can get it right, you play a game like The Quiet Year and you work your way through that, you could probably do some real healing.
Yeah, because, and it's not just about the embodiment, I think, of another character, though I do think that is a piece and can definitely be a piece for certain people. But it's the connection with the people that you're with and the safety that's created in the group. Yeah. Like, there's nothing like healing in a group. There just isn't.
Right.
You can't do the healing on your own that you do in a group. And that setting is provided with these games, with the LARP, all of that stuff. And again, with a group of people who, I have to say, by and large, are just generally the kindest, most open and giving people.
It's an absolutely wonderful community.
Yeah.
Truly. So that's why when it was actually not me that thought of you for this, you said that it was me. It was actually Maeve who was like, Rob, you need to get her connected. Yeah. And it was like, that makes a lot of sense. It's funny because she's played a little, and I truly know that if she found a way to make it convenient that she could play like it was a regular thing, she would be one that would dig into that and love the healing part of it and the exploring the psychology. My favorite part always is the ethical dilemma. Whenever I watch a show, whenever I play a game, the ethical dilemma is my favorite thing. I go right to it.
Yeah.
And the wrestling with how that works,
Yeah.
Or rolling a 20 and killing a big cube. That's always fun too.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you say that actually, because the encounter that I'm writing, the ethical dilemma was the first thing I went to. So,
really?
That's kind of driving this encounter in this current iteration, if this is what goes through. But so it's funny that you say that, because there's always the draw for me. And not that I don't love a good combat, because that's really great too. But in this way, it kind of spoke to me, and so far we're workshopping it. But it's really exciting.
So what you're writing for Cthulhu Dreamt, is this a module that's part of the game? Is this something that's a stretch goal? What is this?
No. So this is part of the game, but it's an encounter. So I don't know what's been talked about, but this game actually has an ending, some of the not the open campaign, but this has an ending. So then their idea was to go ahead and create separate encounters that maybe in some way sort of tie into the main story, but are not necessarily changing anything about the main campaign.
Right.
It's just for more interest, and so people can keep playing, which I thought was a genius idea. And they're just lovely things to write, because it's kind of a one and done. And so, and so if you're missing a campaign player, then you can pull this out and do this if you're missing someone. So, it's just great.
Yeah, there's I've interviewed these people a few times. AAW puts out these mini dungeon tomes. Okay. And that's all it is literally a book of like 100 little encounters.
Yeah.
Somebody's missing, pull this out, and you guys went through the door to the left, and here's all this stuff that maybe you walk out with some loot, maybe you take some scrapes, but it doesn't affect negatively the ultimate storyline, which is great. I mean, it gives you more stuff. You talk about video games. I play Skyrim. I play Red Dead Redemption. I played the hell out of these games. I couldn't tell you what the storyline is. On Red Dead, I probably could. I could probably get there. Skyrim, I have no idea. I never got to the ending because I spent the whole time doing little encounters.
Sure.
And like sitting and listening to people talk and then like following that rabbit hole. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm the rabbit hole person as well. And in turn, like I'll just speak to old school Resident Evil, the first iteration of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
So the puzzle pieces of it for me were just like so cool. And I just love to have to figure stuff out. That's just my...
Right. So you love that type of like, so was it like horror puzzle games or just puzzle games in general?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
I love a good horror video game. They're hard to pull off.
They are.
When they're good, like that original Resident Evil was shocking.
It was
so fun.
so good, yeah.
Did you ever play the original Silent Hill?
No, I did not.
Oh, man. There's a rabbit hole for you. And even the bad Silent Hills, to me, still, I would walk away and go, what the hell?
Yeah.
Actually, so I was going to say mine, but I want to hear yours. What would be your favorite video game?
Ugh.
If you say Tetris, that doesn't really apply to this.
It doesn't. Okay, so, I think, and again, this is just like a nostalgia thing. I don't think this is actually necessarily my favorite thing, but Dragon's Lair, when it came out. Oh my God,
yes.
You know what I mean? As just jerk and just the cartoony and, you know what I mean? It was stupid and it was whatever, but it was the first cartoon-like video game. And I just remember that being such a big thing back then. But, again, what I played for years, like when I was in college, was Myst.
Oh my God, I was a huge Myst fan.
So,
Myst was fantastic.
Yeah, it was
now,
cool.
You talk about puzzles, interesting puzzles. And it's weird. There were no jump scares or anything, but there is a horror element to it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ethical play in it.
Yes.
You didn't really get side quests or anything. You kind of stuck to what you could go this way, but they're both doing this. But that is a beautifully designed game.
It is, yeah.
Now, for you as a gamer, do you find yourself, like now, if I were to say, hey, let's play some games, would you find yourself going towards a Myst type, like a single player solving puzzles? Do you like the open world type? Or are you like, you know what, I'm in an era now where it's like all about playing video baseball?
Yeah. No, I don't think it would be video baseball. You know what? So I remember when my kids got Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
And needed me to get places and do things. I got a bit lost in that. So like those are the things that I do. I get lost in stuff. And so the question then becomes like, how lost do I want to get? And I'm always this like time crunch person. Like I don't have time for this. I have too much to do.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think the part of me that loves the gaming would definitely get lost in a Myst type game or something. Yeah. And then,
Now, would you prefer, we're going to go back to tabletop here, since now you've played.
Yes.
What you played was basically a one-shot. So it was like a story, little short story to kind of get you used to it and feel the game, right? It wasn't like you went 10 weeks playing it.
No, right.
Do you think that you're more of a one-shot person? Do you think you're more of a, you know what? I want to dig into a campaign. I want to feel what that's like.
I think I would love that. And again, I think it would depend on who I was with. I mean, for the people who really love gaming, if I could play with them, then yeah, I would definitely love to do that for sure.
Yeah. Would you want to go to a game like Cthulhu Dreamt or Dungeons and Dragons, or do you know? I mean, there's so many.
I don't know, right? I really don't. I mean, obviously, I loved playing Cthulhu Dreamt. I love so many aspects of D&D. And of course, Stranger Things resurfacing all of that stuff.
It got everybody
in
kind of
such
thinking
a way.
about it.
It brought it back to the forefront for people who are not in the world.
Right.
So, I mean, I sat with my kids and watched that, just every minute. And love that kind of thing. So yeah, again, I think for me, a lot of it is about the people I'm with, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing about it. I think that's what makes it hard for people to sometimes get into it, is finding a group you can play with that's going to consistently play.
Yeah.
But boy, when you do, I mean, I had Rich and Chris and Scott, and it was fabulous.
Sure.
And it went, like I said, it was almost a year on the one game. I think we played for 2 full years, like a couple of different games. But that one thing, our characters growing in this world. I had a friend that had a game that went 30 years.
Wow.
The same group of guys, and they made sure they met. It got so it wasn't every week, but they would meet up, and same characters, working their way through whatever. there's something about that. It's that shared experience.
It is.
The other thing that I think is interesting, and I bet you could do it now that you've played, is you do have the singular experience when you play, right?
Yep.
You're listening to the story and you're doing the thing, but it's a singular experience. And I run into so many people, once they start playing, they want to tell me their story and all the little things. So I bet if I said, what happened, you would have, and I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to ask until the mics are off.
Okay.
But I bet you would tell me, and then we went in this thing, and then we opened this, and then did you talk to the kids and tell them all that?
I did. I told them, yeah. And, it was so much fun because there were some surprising elements. Like, I love the fact that there are these secrets, right?
Yes.
That you just don't know. And so, one of the players and I, Jahan, just had this experience then, and we're just kind of bantering about it on Discord, and it's just funny. Like, but yeah, it's great. It was so much fun. And yeah, having that, like somebody know you differently. It's just fun.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking, because we know you, because we're friends, I'm thinking I really want to get you to one of the cons where they have the gaming stuff. So I went to Gen Con. It was the first gaming con I went to. And it was great. I saw all these cool things and I talked to people. And on the last day, my friend, Bill from Geeks A Go-Go says, let's go into the gaming room. And I went, what? I'd been walking forever through this place. He goes, the gaming room. I swear to God, it's like a football field of just tables.
Oh.
And they're all playing different games. Some of them are the manufacturers. Some of them are just GMs that are playing. Oh, my God. And Bill said, yeah, if you walked in here on day one, you would never leave.
Right. It's
amazing. So then I went to GaryCon, which is here. That's what, if we're around, that's what I want to take you to.
Okay.
And I played games there. I got to play with my friend and his friends that they've played forever. I've never played with them. And now we're all talking on, we tweet or text each other once in a while. And it's like, and the other day, my friend writes to me and we were talking about something else and randomly goes, are you going to GaryCon again? It's a year from now. He's already like, well, I want to make sure that we've got enough games that we're playing together. And I'm like, that's so great. That's so great. He was a friend of mine from high school that I haven't talked to in 35 years. And now it's like all he can think about is how we're going to get to play again.
That's awesome.
And that's what I want to do with you. I want to get you so you can see that.
Yeah.
And sit at a table and try something. Because I played a game called Mazes that I'd never played. My friend Todd ran it. And I've thought about it ever since because it was such a fun game. I played a Star Wars game that was like, the kids in us jumped out of our skin. I didn't think that was going to happen. And all of a sudden we're like, especially Todd and I, who were friends in high school, when we were talking Star Wars all the time, are sitting there doing sound effects at each other.
That's great.
And we're like, oh my God. And then my character had the Force.
Okay.
None of the others did. So I did a couple Force things. And every time the whole team would be like, shit, yeah. You did the Force.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to get you at one of these things.
Oh, I would love it. I'm sure.
I think it would be eye-opening for you. And I think you would have a really interesting perspective with your psychology background, with your trauma stuff. I think that I wonder if you would try to heal people as you're sitting there. My character is having a trauma response because it wants to just run through the door and hack and slash. You're like, wait a minute, is that a trauma response? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I wonder if you play that way.
Yeah. Oh, God knows. Probably I would. I'm always analyzing everything. So yeah.
I think that'd be fabulous, though.
It'd be cool. For sure.
I'd love to play a game with you and Maeve. I have a feeling it would be a very different experience than when I played with Chris.
I would imagine.
Chris and I, our whole thing, we drove the GM crazy because I don't like guys that just go in to break a game, but we break the game.
Okay.
And it's only because we're like, I want to try doing this. And they go like, well, you can't. Are you sure?
Well, to your point there, that's basically what happened when we did the playthrough. We skipped half the game.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah. And it was fun.
The best one, so in gaming, there's a tower thing, okay? You go through the thing, and there's a giant tower, and the whole idea is you go through the moat, and then you fight this, and you fight your way through the levels of the tower, or the dungeon, and it goes down, but it's a tower game. And we had one of these, and it was full of Nazis, and we were like these superheroes. And my character he said, if it's in the comics, you can use it. Turned out he had this gun that shot a thing. And so I said, I'm going to try that. And I shot it at the roof. And he said, I rolled, and I got like a 20. And it was like, oh, yeah, so it worked. So we went to the top of the tower, and the first thing we did was boss encounter for the final boss of the game. And he's like, oh, and we're like, we don't care. We beat it. And he was like, we're like, no. Now we're going to work our way through the tower. Nothing's going to be as bad as that guy.
Yeah.
That's how we played.
Yeah. And I think that for us, it was really funny. I definitely won't reveal anything, but I think we were a bunch of skeptics. So that's what like just got us like way through faster. So yeah, we just had a big bunch of skeptics. So it was good.
I don't believe that's happening to me.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay. You've been writing on Cthulhu Dreamt.
Yeah.
Do you see this as something that you'll continue with? Do you want to like maybe explore other worlds and keep writing in this?
I would hope so. I mean, this is the part that's just like so much fun for me.
Right.
A lot of my life is wrapped up in trauma stuff. So, I have to say less fun. I mean, I love to help people, obviously, and that's why I do this. But it's heavy, right? It's all heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So this is just like a brightness in my day, and to be able to do it and hopefully do it well. Yeah, it's just all bonus.
So that bright and flowery Cthulhu, the ancient one, just.
Yeah.
Sunshine and love. Yeah, that's the
But
stuff.
it's nice to be like a little bit bad, right? Because the thing is, I'm focused on good all the time, trying to do good. So when you can like stretch and go the other way and maybe have a little bit of evil here and do this and do that and betrayal and da-da-da, it's fun.
It's fun.
It is.
It is fun. Well, obviously, I like it.
Yes.
Okay, so if you could write, you obviously you don't know very many games out there, but if you could write if there was one that you were like, I would really like to write in a world that was blank, what do you think it would be?
Oh, 1800s Sherlock kind of stuff.
Oh.
100%. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're into that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In October, I'm playing on a Twitch show called Rook and Rasp, and they have a game that I'm going to be playing, and I actually know the woman who is running it, who actually was a writer on it. It's a game that takes place in World War I, so we're talking right around there. It's really interesting.
Ooh.
Oh, and there's Cthulhu, so it's really interesting. And like when you said that, I thought, I wonder if you could do a side module that was a Sherlock Holmesy type thing, because there are books of Sherlock and Cthulhu that are supposed to be fabulous.
Oh, that'd be so much fun.
And it doesn't always, Cthulhu's an easy one. It's kind of a trope right now, but
sure.
it is a good trope.
Absolutely. It wouldn't be around this long if it wasn't.
And when you start getting into those ancient ones, it's like, it doesn't have to be Cthulhu. There's a lot of weirdness to play in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's an interesting one. Maybe I'll make a love connection with those guys for you.
Oh, that'd be so much fun.
Because I'm going to be playing right there with them. I can't wait.
That's so exciting.
Because I've never played that era.
Yeah, it's fun. There's a lot of ways you can go, a lot of different things you can do than modern day. I just, so yeah.
Well, do you like the history aspect of it?
I do. I really do.
You like digging into that kind of thing?
And I like to research.
Yeah.
So, I pull in things that are very obscure, but, can be used. And I just love to do that stuff.
That's really rich, storytelling. I love that. That was when I interviewed these guys. They really talked about that. There's a guy who worked on it whose like specialty is one particular type of gun from that time.
Wow.
And he even wrote a game based on this gun. And they were talking about it. They're like, we want to figure out a way to incorporate it into this game because playing this game and the weird quirkiness of this weird gun is so cool. And I think there's something there too. It's not just your trauma and psychology, but your love of history, your love of researching a time period.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then I think lore, the podcast, that's one of the reasons I like it because it spans a whole huge amount of time, but you get all of the urban legends and, all that stuff. So any way I can incorporate history or anything just really interesting. Yeah, I always want to do that.
Yeah. Do you want to ever write a dragon type adventure?
Oh, yeah, because that's another. So that's another thing that I read. I was like, I think I was 11 when I read The Once and Future King.
Oh!
I mean, you know what I mean? That
opens it up.
Merlin and all that. Oh, that stuff is just, yeah. And I was huge on Arthurian legend for a long time. And yeah, I mean, there's like nothing that's not interesting to me in all that world. It's just magic and supernatural and horror and all of it. It's just, all of it's so interesting.
Yeah, I always found that obviously I gravitated towards horror, but it was, if you had a little tiny bit of a horror element in that fantasy stuff and the sci-fi stuff, I was drawn like crazy. It's why, like, reading Shannara, I'm loving the evil gnomes in Shannara. I just started reading it, right?
Okay.
In Lord of the Rings, even there's some weird, scary stuff going on, and it's fabulous. Those Dark Riders, I mean, that's pure horror right there. It is.
It's beautiful too.
It is. It's great. So yeah, I totally get that. Well, Jenifer, I am so happy that we had the tiniest bit of your history here, because I think you found something that, even if it's a side gig that you're doing, I think you found something.
Yeah,
that's going to be cool.
So too. Well,
you're
and I'm
creative and you like this stuff, and you're a perfect fit for this.
Well, and I'm just grateful because, again, you and Maeve recognized that, so I'm fully thankful for that. And of course, Jaron, Brad, and Reed, thank you for the opportunity, because this is just super exciting. How
fabulous are these guys
for me?
Right?
Oh my God, they're amazing, absolutely amazing.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
You know what? I can tell you, because you've probably met a bunch of them already through playing in that. All the interviews, there's not a person that I haven't been like, I'm just in love. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's been my feeling, absolutely, 100%.
Well, Jenifer, welcome to TTRPG Insider. I'm sure I'll have you on again at some point. It'll be interesting to watch your journey. You're going to be my story, we caught you just as you started, and then, I just wrote my first full-on TTRPG being produced by...
Oh, God, that'd be awesome. But I really appreciate it, Rob. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Jenifer.
Take care.
Jenifer, thank you so much for coming on TTRPG Insider. It was so much fun for me to find out some new things about such a good friend. If you or anyone you know has a crowdfunding effort about to launch or currently going, send them my way. I can feature their project on this show and on my other show, Go Fund This. I love to share cool TTRPG projects and to help people reach their goals. You can connect with me through the TTRPG Insider Facebook page or via email directly to rob@ttrpginsider.com. Please rate and review TTRPG Insider wherever you listen to this podcast. It really helps others find the show, which helps spread the word about our amazing guests and their incredible games. TTRPG Insider is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted, edited, and produced by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks so much for listening to the TTRPG Insider.